Okay, so in this part of the lesson, we are going to isolate, we're going to solve linear equations or algebraic equations. Okay, so basically solving means isolating for the letter, okay? Keeping the letter by itself on one side, and then everything else is on the other side. Okay, so first you're gonna have to look at what kind of operation you have, and then you're gonna undo the operation. Okay, so you're gonna do what we call opposite operation. Let's review a few things. What would be an operation to multiplication? Division. What would be the opposite of operation of addition? Subtraction. Opposite of subtraction. Opposite of division. What's the opposite of square? Square root. Right? So the opposite of square is square root. Okay? So these are things that you should know. Okay? Now, when we're doing opposite operation, we're going to always have to kind of go backward of our bed mass. Right? Remember that we talked about bed mass and we talked about when we are simplifying, we're going to add our terms and divide and multiply in a certain order. Okay? When we are trying to isolate, we're going to reverse that order. We're going to go from the least important to the most important. Okay? So we're going to go from the subtraction addition all the way up to the brackets. Okay? So instead of going bed mass, we're going to go Samdeb. I have problem with this. Samdeb. Okay, so we'll get rid of the subtraction addition first, the one that's outside. We get rid of the multiplication division. We get rid of the exponent, then the bracket. Okay, but there's always like, for example, if you look at the example here, B. Right? If you follow this rule and you want to get rid of the addition first, that's wrong. Okay? And this is why I don't really like to teach the same-bed way. You have to kind of get rid of what you do last in the calculator, basically. Okay? We'll talk about this later. Okay? We'll get to the examples later. So let's explain. So, and this probably will help you understand example B. Okay. So the first thing that you want to do, you want to eliminate fraction by multiplying each term in the equation by that fraction. Okay. So you want to eliminate any brackets by using the distributive property. That we talked about earlier. And the rearrange the equation to isolate for the variable. To isolate and solve. To isolate for the variable. So remember I told you that you're going to use bed mass backwards. You're going to do opposite operation to undo an operation. And then what you do to one side, you must do to the other. Okay, which is the same thing as opposite operation. So your ultimate goal is to put the letter or the variable on one side and everything else on the other side. That has to have an order. It can't be, you know, not ordered, right? Otherwise, you won't get the right answer. So, I have 12 m equals to 3. What's the letter that I want to isolate for? M. Where is m? Numerator or denominator? Denominator. Okay, so this is not the easiest one to solve for. It's not the hardest either, but it's not like as easy as if I had m divided by 12. Okay, now I want you to think with me for a second. What do you divide 12 by to give you 3? 4. So we know that m is going to be 4. Okay, so if we get something other than 4, something's wrong. Okay, so now let's see how we're going to do. If this was a harder question that we won't know the answer for, we need to know how to solve it. Okay, so what do you want to do? Move what? If you move the 12 to the other side, you can't do that because 12 is on the top. So what else can you do? Move the 3 over, and where do you move it?
Replace it with m. Replace m with 3.
And where do you bring the m?
Over the equal sign.
This is the ultimate thing. That's what's going to happen. But let me show you why this happens. Okay? The first thing, because m is in the denominator, you don't want it there. You want to move it from the denominator. And the only way to do that is by getting rid of it by multiplying both sides by m. Okay? It's like if you had a number divided by 2, you multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of it. So it's the same thing as if you multiply both sides by m, right? That gets rid of the m from the denominator, right? Did I follow the rule that what do you do to one side, you must do to the other? I did. If you don't do that, you won't get the right answer. So because I multiplied this side by m, I have to multiply this side by m. Okay? When I did that, I got rid of my denominator. So now I'm left with 12 equals 3m. Now, m is not by itself, and my goal is to have m by itself. Now, what's happening between the 3 and the m?
Multiplying.
It's multiplying. So if I want to get rid of that multiplication, what would be my opposite operation? Divide by 3. So whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other, right? I got rid of the 3. Now 12 divided by 3 is 4. And this is, I know it's going to be 4 because we've already discussed the answer, okay? But the way to get to it, okay? So first you want to bring the m up, and you can do that by multiplying, and then you can isolate for m by dividing. All right. Let's look at B. I'll just wait for you guys to finish copying because I really want your attention. Okay. So for B, you have 2d plus 1 divided by 7 equals to 3. If you are to evaluate this, if I give you a value for d and I tell you d is 2, for example, what would you do first?
Multiply.
So you multiply what by what? 2 by 2, and then you do what?
Add.
Then you add the 1. Then after that, what do you do?
Divide by 7.
Divide by 7. Okay? So you tell me that you're going to do 2 times 2, add the 1, then divide by 7. Now, if we want to do the backward way, we have to.
Separate them.
What's the last thing you do? Divide by 7, right? You're dividing by 7 the last thing because that division by 7 is over the whole thing. So because this is the last thing you do, This would be the last thing you want to get rid of, the first thing that you want to get rid of. Because remember of SAM-DEP, okay? It's the opposite, okay? So, how do you get rid of division by 7?
Sorry?
What's the opposite of dividing by 7?
Multiplying.
Multiplying by 7. I have to do it to both sides, right? So, cancels. So I'm left with 2d plus 1 equals to 21. Now, what would be the next thing you want to get rid of?
2.
Let's go back to what we do if I give you a value for d. So if I give you a value for d, you said you're going to multiply 2 times 2. If I give you d as 2, you said that you're going to do 2 times 2, then add 1, then divide by 7, right? And we said that if we're going to get rid of it, we're going to get rid of it backward, okay? So we got rid of the division by 7. What would be the next thing I want to get rid of? Adding 1, okay? Because technically, if I give you a value for d, I'm just going to say d is 2, right? Technically, you're going to do this. You're going to do this first, then you're going to add 2, you're going to add 1, and then you're going to divide by 3, okay? When we are isolating, we're going to move backward. We're going to get rid of this first, then we're going to get rid of this second, then we're going to get rid of the 2 last. Okay? So, the next thing is I want to get rid of that plus 1. To get rid of the plus 1, what do I do? And then it becomes a what? Minus 1. So it's going to be 2d equals to 21 minus 1, which is 20. Now I have to get rid of the 2. To get rid of the 2, you just divide by 2, and that's going to be d equals to 10. You can check your answer, right? You can check if that's true. If you plug in 10 in for d, you should get 3. Okay? So let's try that. 2 times 10 is 20. Add 1, 21. Divide by 7? 3. Right? So your answer should make sense if you plug it back in. I'm just going to erase this so when people look at the notes, they don't see this and think, what is going on, okay? All right. Now remember the second rule here? What does it say? So if you have any brackets, you're going to have to get rid of them by using the distributive property before you start isolating and moving things around, okay? So, do you see brackets here and lots of them? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to have to use the distributive property to get rid of the brackets. So, distributive property tells me that I have to multiply this by whatever is inside the bracket, right? So, it's going to be negative 3x minus 6. And then how about this? I write it as is. Right? This is not affected by that negative 3 because it's not inside the bracket. Equals. Now what do I do with this? So multiply the 4 in. Okay. What do you see here? Like terms, right? You see terms on both sides that I can maybe put them in on the same side too. Okay? So what I can do is I can There's different ways that you can go to this. You can add these terms and then move this later, or you can move this first, right, and then add everything together. So it's up to you guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move and then add at the end. Okay? So I have negative 3x minus 3x. That negative 6 does not belong on this side, right? Because it doesn't have an x, so I'm going to move that to this side. And that negative 20x does not belong on this side. It should be on the side of the x. Okay? So, yeah. So I'm putting the x's all on one side and then the numbers all on the other side. So it's going to be plus 20x. 8 plus 6, right? Again, remember that we're doing the opposite operation. So if you're adding, you're subtracting, and the other way around. Putting all of this together, that's going to give me 14x. So what you can do on the calculator, if you can't do that in your head, you do minus 3 plus 20. And then don't forget about the x, and then don't forget it when you write it. Equals to 14. And then? Now we have to divide by the 14 because I don't want anything with the x, right? So I want to get rid of that 14. So divide both sides by 14, and that's going to be equals 1. Now, if you plug in that 1 into your equation, and then you do the math, you do the bed math, you should be able to have left side equal to the right side. So by checking, you don't have to do that, but this is the way you check if your answer is correct. So if I plug in 1 in for x, right? So anywhere there is an x, I plugged in 1. Okay? BEDMAS tells me I have to do the inside the brackets first. So 1 plus 2 is 3. Inside the bracket here, I have 5 times 1, which is 5. 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Now I can do my multiplication. So negative 3 times 3, that's negative 9. And negative 3 times 1, that's negative 3. And then 4 times negative 3, that's negative 12. If you do negative 9 minus 3, that's negative 12, equals to negative 12. Because both sides are equal to each other, so the left side is equal to the right side, that means my answer is correct. Okay? If you do this and then your left side is not equal to the right side, before you go back and change your answer, make sure that you've done the math correctly. If you haven't done the math, if you have done the math correctly, then go back and check your work. Okay? So this is how you check your answer. Why do I see a lot of lost faces? So this part right here, you guys don't have to do. Basically, to answer the question, we're done at x equal to 1. This part is just for checking your work and making sure that your work is correct by plugging the value into the equation. Are we all clear on that? Any questions? Okay. This one is the one that that we need to think about a little bit. Okay, so on this one, as you can see, we have y minus 7 all divided by 3 equals to y minus 2 all divided by 4. Okay? Your first thing that you want to get rid of is that big divisions that you have. Okay? You have y on both sides, so you want to get rid of both of these divisions. Okay? You can do them in one step, but you can also do them in 2 steps if you don't feel like you want to do them all in one. Okay? So if I want to get rid of that 3, that division by 3, what do I do?
Multiply by 3.
Multiply both sides by 3, right? If I want to get rid of the division by 4, what do I do?
Multiply by 4.
Multiply by both sides by 4. So you can do that and take you 2 steps. But you can also do it in a shortcut. And the shortcut says cross multiply, which means it's as easy as multiplying this by this and this by this. Why is this true? Okay? Because look at this. Don't write this, but look at it. Okay? So if I, as I said earlier, I have to multiply both sides by 3, right, to get rid of the 3. That's what we discussed earlier. You guys agree with that? To get rid of that 3, I have to multiply both sides by 3. Yes? Everyone, yes? Okay. So that gets rid of that, right? Now, in order to get rid of that 4, what do I do? Multiply both sides by 4. So what happens here? This and this cancels, right? So what I'm left with this. Yeah? So I told you the easy way to do it is to cross multiply, right? So that means multiply the 3 by the y minus 2. Multiply the 4 by the y minus 7. So instead of writing and doing all these steps, basically I summed it up in one step. Okay? That works if you have division on both sides, but the division has to be all over. Okay? So basically you can't do that if you have, you can't cross multiply if you have something like this. Right? The division has to be all over the whole thing. Okay? So, to save us time, or to save you guys time, so if we do cross multiply, so that's going to be 4 bracket y minus 7, because the 4 is multiplied by the whole y minus 7, equal to 3 bracket y minus 2, because that 3 is multiplied by the whole y minus 2. Now I can use my distributive property, right? So what would be the left side? What would be this side? Mm-hmm. I don't know why the 3 times 2 and the 3 times 3, people always get it wrong. I don't know. Like this is what I found. Like they can do the big multiplication, no problem. But always 3 times 2 they say 5, and then 3 times 3 they say 6. I don't know why. It's only these 2. Okay, now what do I do? Put the like terms on the same side, right? So I want to bring the y's to this. Remember that equal sign? Think about it as a bridge, okay? You have to bridge it to be able to, you have to cross it, okay, to be able to be added or subtracted. Okay, so I want to bring the 3y over and then bring the negative 28 over, right? So I have the y's on one side and I have the numbers on the other side, okay? So I have 4y minus 3y. Remember, it's minus because it used to be a plus. Minus 6. If I bring the negative 28 over, it becomes a plus 28. So that's going to be y equals positive 22. Right? Because the 28 is a bigger number, and it has the positive. Is that okay, guys? Okay, we're going to do a lot of solving. Like you guys will be doing a lot of like things like this. So make sure you know how to do it. Make sure you do the practice. You have the worksheets. Make sure you do them.